A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As we dedicate this show to Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam, it is important to look back upon her life and to see the example that she has left for us Muslims. The events of Karbala saw the emerging of a rising star, and that was Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam, who emerged as a heroine, who led the captives and then caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salam with extraordinary spirit, resilience, and forbearance. A life like this, when we look back upon it, indicates the strength of a woman. And what we see in Karbala was a culmination of years of upbringing and preparation. The Prophet of Islam, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the one who mentally prepared Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam for the events that he could foresee would happen in the political situation that was uprising. And it was he who made her promise to raise her voice and to stand up for justice. And it was he who had reminded her to believe in her strength as a woman. Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam was born 5 years after the Muslims accompanied the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on Hijrah to Medina, the migration. She was born in the illustrious home of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Her mother was none other than the daughter of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bibi Fatimatu Zahra salamullahi alayhi. It is said that when she was born, Imam Hussein alayhi salam held the infant in his arms and exclaimed in delight and said to his father, "My father, I have been blessed with a baby sister." And Imam Ali alayhi salam had tears in his eyes when he saw the love between the brother and sister. Imam Hussein alayhi salam asked his father, "Oh father, why do you cry at such a joyous occasion?" But Imam Ali alayhi salam answered that you will soon come to know. Bibi Fatima alayhi salam and Imam Ali alayhi salam did not name the baby and said that it would wait for the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to name her himself when he returned from a journey. And when he did return from his journey, the good news was given to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that a baby girl was born, has been born, and the baby was placed in his arms. At that moment, the angel Jibreel came from the heavens to advise the Holy Prophet as to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had commanded that the child's name be. When the name Zaynab was given to Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at that moment, Jibreel had tears in his eyes and began to weep. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Jibreel why he was weeping. And the angel answered, "Ya Rasulullah, from early on in her life, this child, this little girl will remain entangled in trials and tribulations. First, she will weep over the separation from you, Ya Rasulullah. Thereafter, she will moan and bemoan and mourn the loss of her mother, Bibi Fatimatu Zahra salamullahi alayhi. And then her father will leave this world. And soon after, she will lose the shelter of her brother Hassan alayhi salam. After that, her life will take her to Karbala, where she will witness the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and face many trials and tribulations. So much so that, Ya Rasulullah, her hair will turn gray and her back will be bent. When the members of the Holy Family, the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, heard this prophecy, they all broke down in tears. And we find in history that this was the first Majlis-e-Hussein when the events of Karbala were recited in such a way by Jibreel that the entire family wept. Imam Hussein alayhi salam at that time understood why his father had wept when Bibi Zaynab was born. The famous companion Salman Farsi, when he heard that a baby was born in the home of Imam Ali alayhi salam, he quickly made his way to the home of Bibi Fatimatu Zahra salamullahi alayh to pay his respects. And at that time, he saw that the Holy Family, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, were crying, and he asked what the reason was for such a joyous occasion to be marked with tears. When he was told about the events of Karbala and the hardships that were to befall on Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam, he too broke down in tears. Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam grew up in a home where there was much love and much kindness, much piety, much strength and much patience. But what is extremely remarkable in her life is the fact that there was an incredible attachment between her and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It is said that she was so attached to Abu Abdullah Hussein that her face would always be turned towards him. And she took her cues from him. Whatever he did, she would do. And she would pray beside him and wait for him to begin and then follow suit. She used to copy him in everything that he did. She used to follow him everywhere. One day, Bibi Fatimatu Zahra salamullahi alayh said to her father, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she said, "Oh my father, have you noticed how attached Zainab is to Hussein? Do you notice this love between this brother and sister?" And the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied, "Yes, this child of ours will face much trials and tribulations in Karbala." When Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam turned 5, she had a strange and terrible dream. She had a dream that she was caught in a very fearsome storm. She dreamt that a violent wind arose and that the sky darkened and that the earth was in turmoil. And she found that she herself, in her dream, she saw herself being tossed hither and thither. And suddenly, she found herself stuck in the branches of a tree, a huge tree, and she held on to this strong tree for support. But alas, the storm was so strong that it uprooted the very tree from its roots. And Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam found herself tossed up in the air. And then she caught on to a branch, but that branch broke. And then she held on to the 2 twigs of a branch, but these 2 gave away. When she woke up, she told her grandfather about this terrible dream. When he heard this dream, he wept bitterly. And he said, "Oh, my daughter, that tree, that strong tree that you held on to, was me. In that dream, that symbolized myself. But I will be leaving this world very soon. And that is why you saw that that entire tree was uprooted. The branches that you held on to, that strong branch, were your parents. That symbolizes your parents, Ali and Fatima. But they too soon will leave this world. And the 2 twigs are Hassan and Hussein, who will also depart this world before you do, and you will suffer their separation and their loss." Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam grew up with great role models who showed her the way. They paved the way for her and taught her how to anticipate and to behave when the political situation got worse. There was great preparation in the Holy Family. And in that household, Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam learned how to carry herself, learned how to memorize the Holy Quran. She was a great teacher. Ladies came to the home and learned from this young lady. Historians tell us that in Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam, one can see all the personalities of the Holy Family. In her sobriety and her serenity, she was very much like her grandmother, Bibi Khadija alayhi salam. In her chastity and in her modesty, she was very much like her mother, Bibi Fatimatu Zahra, salamullahi alayha. In her eloquence, she is famously known to be like her father, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. When she spoke, and especially when she gave her khutbahs in Kufa, in the streets of Kufa and Sham, and in the court of Yazid, that many people said that it seemed as if they could hear Ali speaking through her. In her forbearance and in her patience, many said that it was possible to see Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And in her bravery and in her tranquility of her heart, it was evident that Imam Hussein alayhi salam lived in her heart. Those who had the blessing of being able to see her face said that it reflected her father, Imam Ali alayhi salam's awe and her grandfather's reverence. At the age of 7, Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam witnessed the first tragedy in her life when her grandfather, her most beloved grandfather, the Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, left this world. The Holy Family was in grief and mourning, and at that time, Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam suffered another great loss at the tender age of 7, to see her mother lose a baby that was still in her womb, her mother injured, their family attacked, and Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam witnessed the death of her mom. After crying for a long, long time, Bibi Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha, left this world, but not before she did an incredible thing that was witnessed by Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam. History tells us that when Bibi Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha, went to the court of the first caliph to give her famous sermon, which has been documented and quoted and is known as one of the most eloquent and well-presented speeches, especially by a woman, we find that with her was this little girl, 7 years old, holding her mother's hand and watching her mother give this fiery speech. In her narrations, Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam has quoted her mother. And in fact, when people wanted to hear what exactly was said in the court of the first caliph, they turned to Zaynab to ask her to relate to them what she saw. And her memory was so great that she was able to speak that sermon and present it word for word, and in the same style that her mom presented it. Subhanallah, it is no surprise then that it was Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam who was able to give an incredible sermon on the streets of Kufa. I want to share just a few portions of that khutbah in front of you so that you may understand how brave and how intelligent, how fearless, and how pious Our Lady was. When she addressed the people of Kufa, she was very brave and called out to them as deceivers. O people of Kufa, O you deceivers, O you who break your pledges, and retreated back. Seeing such words coming from the lady of the household of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam indicates to us when we read this that truly it was the people of Kufa who had made a pledge and who had retreated. You traitors, may your cries never end and your tears never diminish. And she says, beware, for you have sponsored a very wrongful act for which Allah is totally displeased with you. Without doubt, His wrath shall soon descend upon you. Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam talks to them about the regret that they are experiencing. And she sees them as they begin to cry. Her words have evoked tears in their eyes. And she says to them, "Are you now crying? Yes, by Allah, you must weep, because you deserve the tears. Cry immensely and laugh less, for you are contaminated with such shame and disgrace that you will never be able to wash it off. How could you exonerate yourself from the crime of slaying the son of the last prophet, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Was he not the master of the youths in heaven? Was he not the one who you would go to when you had tribal fights and disagreements? Was he not the best choice to solve your own problems and worries?" Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam openly said to the people and showed them that the rightful ruler was Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and his rights had been taken. "What bad have you brought upon yourselves, and what heavy burden are you carrying? Annihilation, downfall, efforts were lost, and hands seized from work, causing for business and capital to be lost. You placed yourself in the anger of Allah, and you manifested yourselves in greed and begging. O the people of Kufa, woe be upon you. Do you know which part of Rasulullah that you have cut, and which vow you have broken, and whose blood you have shed?" And in history, as we see now, current events show us that the lovers of the family of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who follow them and those who are related to them, continue to be martyred. Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam's words still ring true, for she says, "Do you know whose blood you have shed, and which respected family you have brought to the public as captives, and whose sanctity you have violated? You have done that which could tear down the skies, open the earth, and make the mountains vanish. As far as the earth goes and as deep as the skies go, your obvious deed has no like, no similarity, and no decency. Indeed, you have done the ugliest, the most grievous and gruesome deed. Will you be surprised if the skies rain blood? Remember the punishment of the Day of Judgment, which will be much more severe and harsher." And it is no wonder that the words of Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam still continue to ring true even 14 centuries after her death. And her shrine, where she rests in Damascus, is under attack, for people want to silence the voice, a voice that was so strong and continues to be strong even now. That voice that speaks from the grave is so loud that they want to silence it even now. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam, Imam Zamana alayhi salam. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.